everybody, we live in a world today where an AMG C63 has a 4-cylinder engine. One of the most desirable compact hot hatches has a 3-pot. And Italian mid-engine supercars come with a V6. But it wasn't always like this, no. Back in the mid-noughties, you could have a compact hot hatch with a mighty, naturally aspirated Italian V6 under the bonnet. It was a simpler time, it was a better time. The good news is though, you can still buy incredible cars like this today. There's Alfa Romeo 147 GTA. But if, like me, you are a dad now, there's a few more things to consider before you head to the classifieds. A couple of real genuine deal breakers that I'm going to talk about in this video. Come on, let's get into it. My name's Ben, and welcome to Dadcars. Right, my little petrol head pickles, come here. Let me show you something cool. Right, this is what engines look like today, okay? Can you see that?
Okay.
Plastic City FC.
Cool.
Yeah? That's not actually the engine, that's just a plastic cover. But this is what all modern cars look like, yeah? Even if you've got a Lamborghini Urus, it pretty much looks like that. Do you want me to show you one of the most beautiful engines ever made? Okay?
Yeah.
Right, you ready for this?
Yeah. Whoa.
What do you think of that?
Look, and it's got a clover leaf on it. Yeah.
But how beautiful is that?
Really nice.
Yeah? It looks so much nicer than just plastic, doesn't it? Girls, this is the legendary Alfa Romeo 3.2 naturally aspirated Busso V6.
Hot.
24 valve.
Hot.
Yeah,
No,
don't
it's
touch it
not
because it will be hot. But what a masterpiece, right? You love Alfa Romeos, don't you?
I like Alfa Romeo.
Why do you like Alfa Romeos?
Because it's got a snake on the badge and an England flag.
Yeah, it is one of the coolest badges ever, isn't it?
England flag.
And Pickle, we're going to get to drive this today. How exciting.
Can we have a look inside?
Of course, yeah. Come on.
Yeah!
Because we've got to make sure that we can actually fit a child seat in the back, haven't we? Obviously, being a 2-door. And in fact, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I've got a decent amount of legroom here behind the driver and headroom as well. Yeah, look, obviously I'm long torso, my head does reach up there, but I can slump down a little bit. This is pretty good rear practicality actually, isn't it, girls? Oh, look, it's got a sweetie bin.
Where?
Yeah, that's where you put sweet wrappers. Look, girls, what's this? Look, ready?
Oh, I've seen that.
Oh, I think it's got a ski hatch as well. Look, even the nice stitching design on the leather there as well. But this is where you'll find the first disappointment if you intend on using one of these today as a dad car, because despite this being a 2004, you know, when most manufacturers were starting to include ISOFIX, there's no ISOFIX in here. And there's perhaps an even bigger safety concern with the 147, but I'll talk to you about that later on in the video when we take it out for a drive. These seats are split folding if you need to carry large items, but all in all, I'd say the rear practicality in the 147 is fantastic. You can switch off the passenger side airbag and put a rear facing child seat on the front passenger seat. That's the exact same switch that my Maserati Grand Sport had. And another feature this shares with the Maserati, rather annoyingly, is that there's no button on the back to open it. So you've got to press the key or press the button inside. But when you do open up the boot, honestly, for what is seemingly, by today's standards, a compact hatch now, this boot is a fantastic size. You'll have no problems whatsoever getting buggies in there, I'd say. Right, sweetie, should we go for a drive in a 147 GTA?
Look what I found, and the door's open too.
Oh, yeah, I think that's Kieran's son's. So his daddy's got a real one, and his son's got a little toy one. Is that cool? Right, you've seen how pretty the engine is. Do you want to hear it now? Yeah? I'm quite excited about this one, sweetie. Do you remember when we did the Giulia Quadrifoglio? We loved that car, didn't we? But Daddy cannot afford one of those, unfortunately. But I could afford one of these, because my next dad car is going to be £10,000 or less, and you can get these for that sort of money. Right, sweetie, we've got to wait for the engine to get up to temperature, and annoyingly, the temperature is hidden on a digital screen, so you've got to like cycle through it to get it up. That doesn't make much sense when you've got this legendary Busso engine, which you want to make sure is up to temperature before you drive it high in the rev range. I want to take this quickly on a dual carriageway, just to give it a little bit of a pull, stretch its legs and see what it's like. You ready? God, it's got a real nice pull. I was wondering if whether it'd be a bit down on torque, you know, you'd have to sort of rev it to get the best out of it, but I'm quite impressed. Now that might be in part due to the fact that this is a modified car. So these came with just shy of 250 horsepower from standard. This one's been remapped and I think it's about 270 now, and it's also had some modifications to the exhaust system. Some of the cats have been removed, not all of them, so still absolutely fine getting for MOTs and everything. But the suspension, the brakes, this has had a lot of modification. This car's owner, Kieran, he's owned it for 10 years and he's done all sorts. What I'll do is I will put a full list of all the modifications that this car's had in the description below. So if you're interested, check that out. And I'm not normally a fan of hatchbacks that have had exhaust modifications and they're making a big song and dance themselves. I find it a little bit obnoxious, but it goes without saying that an Alfa Romeo V6 Busso, oh, such an incredible sound that nobody's going to complain about this car making a song and dance with itself, are they? Oh, we found a little bit there of the suspension modifications, didn't we? It was quite bumpy there, sweetie, wasn't it? I would say that the ride setup on this is too firm for my personal liking. Oh, the way it pulls going uphill here. Yeah, I'm really, really impressed with this. But what do we think about the looks of the 147 GT8? Now, I've been guilty of thinking, you know, when I'm checking the classifieds at these, looking at pictures on my phone, you know, they just look like a pretty little hatchback. But whenever I actually see one in person, spend some time looking at it, just the design of this car is just incredibly cool. These classic Alfa Romeo design wheels are just sublime. When I get my first Alfa Romeo, it has to have these design wheels. Is there a particular name for these style wheels? I'm embarrassed to say I don't know. If there is, please let me know in the comments below. The first thing I noticed when Kieran pulled up in this is that it's on spacers. And it looks quite cool because it's got a wider stance. Maybe it's just a little bit too much, again, for my eye. But look, I'm very much an OEM person. I love cars. Visually, they look OEM. But this shade of blue is absolutely stunning, isn't it? I think that, you know, proper cool Italian cars should have flamboyant paintwork. But what about the interior? And look, same again. Whenever I look at Auto Trader classified ads and flick through the internal shots on these, you know, they can sort of come across just looking sort of basic and quite plasticky. And yes, they are. I mean, this is all plastic, but the shapes of it are lovely. The shape there on the passenger side as it goes in to give even more leg room. You know, it reminds me a lot actually of my Maserati Grand Sport. This instrument cluster is delightful. It wouldn't look out of place on a Ferrari, and yeah, it's quite sort of like Porsche-like as well, isn't it? These seats are absolutely beautiful, and all the leather work with that stitch design, it does feel really, really special in here. Obviously, you've got this very dated sort of sat-nav system here, which completely dates the car, and I don't think actually has much function these days, but no, I'm a fan because it's standard. Right, sweetie, we're coming up to roundabout here. So we do the roundabout test, right? Imagine it's rush hour, I've got to get you home quickly. Oh, I'm still getting used to this clutch. Oh, the steering. Oh, proper Italian Alfa Romeo steering. Right, national speed limit, sweetie. It does not take long to get to 60. I think officially from standard, I think it's about 6 seconds 0 to 60. This feels very fast, very alive, very fun. Right, let's pull over here and we'll do it a 0 to 60 and then we'll calm down and talk a little bit more about this car. Right, are you ready, sweetie? Yeah, head back. 3, 2, 1. Torque steer. Oh, yeah, God. Obviously being front wheel drive, there's a lot of power going there. This is a wild ride, it really is. Oh, so exciting and enjoyable though. Right, oh, there we go. Little roadworks. There's lots of roadworks going on at the moment, isn't there? So what do you think of it, sweetie, so far while we wait at these traffic lights? Does it remind you a little bit of Daddy's Maserati? Quite loud, quite bumpy? Little bit, yeah? Do you remember the Tonale that we did and it had all the toys and stuff in it, the Alfa Romeo Tonale? You liked that one, didn't you? Yeah, but it wasn't actually a very good car to drive. Didn't feel like an Alfa to me. Right, so before I talk about the deal breakers, the things which, you know, might stop you wanting to buy one of these, you know, what is this like to drive? So already I've sort of indicated it there. Like it's a wild ride. The steering is incredibly quick, incredibly nimble, incredibly fun. Oh, it's really nice. The steering wheel feels lovely in your hand as well. If you're used to just driving modern, refined performance cars and then you hopped into this, it would be a bit of a culture shock, but that is why I love cars like this so much. They're so much more fun to drive, really are. It just feels so much more engaged, so much more connected to it. The clutch is actually quite heavy. I'm starting to get used to it now, but the throttle response is wonderful. You just feel so connected to this car. Whoa. Right, slow down, go around this cyclist. Oh, I'm really enjoying this. Another cyclist. God, this car is so alive, isn't it? The gearbox, first 5 minutes of me driving, it felt a little bit vague, but I'm getting used to it now. But all in all, this little animal is exceptional fun to drive. Oh, a proper driver's car. So now let's talk about the deal breakers then. And number one is going to be running costs, isn't it? This car's owner, Kieran, he pays around £800 to insure it. Now I know that's very subjective to age, location, but that's double what I paid to insure my V12 Aston Martin DB9. Road tax at time of recording is £415, and obviously miles per gallon, you know, with this incredible naturally aspirated V6. In the real world, you're probably, with mixed driving, going to get around 20. So depending on how many miles you intend on doing, that could be a deal breaker for you. But Kieran said on his long trip down here to very kindly bring this car to me to review today, he said the trip computer was showing 28 miles per gallon on that run, which I think is actually exceptional. Now, when you consider the X5 we looked at earlier on, my wife's one, you know, on a run, that diesel X5 gets 31 miles per gallon, and you don't have to put AdBlue in this, do you? The servicing costs on this V6 are obviously going to be higher as well, but there's so many incredible independents around the country. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll flash up a picture now showing the name of the specialist that looks after this car for Kieran. I've heard from numerous owners, you know, that these Busso V6s, they will need a rebuild at some point. You know, normally around 100,000 miles is what I've heard. Look, I'm no expert whatsoever. Please, if you know any more, let us know in the comments. But a big thing I see from these Alfas now of this age is, you know, it's rust, corrosion. You know, so if you are looking to buy one of these, I would highly recommend you get it up on a ramp and get it inspected by somebody before you pull the trigger on the purchase. Also, make sure you do a car vertical check before you buy it as well. Use promo code Dadcars and you'll save 20%. That's not even an advert. I wasn't even supposed to put that in here, but I do really think it's worth checking with these cars, especially as, you know, you see a lot of these up on, you know, Facebook Marketplace and lesser known places you might see these advertised. And in regards to the, you know, typical, oh, Alfa Romeos, they're really unreliable, God, you know, I'd be braking all the time and stuff. I think all you need to remember is that, you know, an Alfa Romeo, certainly an Alfa Romeo like this, a proper Alfa Romeo, this is an enthusiast car. Any special enthusiast driver's car is going to require, you know, more money spent on it, more maintenance. And ironically, just as I'm about to talk about perhaps the biggest deal breaker, particularly if you're considering one of these to use with your family today, it started raining. And yeah, look, I need to talk about the safety of the 147, because in 2001 the Alfa Romeo 147 was NCAP crash tested and it did not perform well. It got 3 stars for adult occupants. I mean, at the time they didn't even do tests for child occupants as well, but a negative NCAP safety report from 2001, you know, that is worth taking note of. In more recent years, you know, we've seen cars that have been marked down simply because they don't have as many driver assist aids and things like that. But, you know, actually the fundamental integrity of, you know, the physical safety of the vehicle is good when you actually delve into the report. But yeah, the report from 2001 shows that this just didn't perform very well. So my own personal opinion doesn't mean it's right, okay? It's just my opinion. It would be a fantastic sort of weekend car to have alongside something more modern. You know, yeah, look, something like my wife's X5, and if 90% of the miles with the children are done in the X5, and then taking the kids out at weekends when the weather's lovely, you know, cars and coffee, little meets with your children, making memories, that sort of stuff. Fabulous. And that's exactly what Kieran uses this for. You know, he's got a modern family car that he uses with his family for, you know, most day-to-day duties, and then this is his weekend car to go and have some fun and make some memories. And what a car to do it in. And the final really interesting point on safety actually is that the Alfas that came after this, like the 159 for example, which funnily enough, JM reckons I should buy a 159 as my next dad car for sub £10,000. But the 159 achieved a really positive NCAP crash safety score. So, you know, Alfa Romeo obviously responded to, you know, the reality of this car, because I mean this car weighs just shy of 1,400 kilograms, I believe. Whereas the 159 and the Brera saw a massive jump in weight, and I reckon it might be because of that. You know, obviously the four-wheel drive systems make them heavier as well, but yeah, I reckon a lot of it was, oh, what's that? Speaking of safety, that's been blocked off. Right, we can't go down there. Yeah, so I reckon the weight gain, which a lot of people moaned about, a lot of that's probably in aid of making the cars safer. But unfortunately, the V6 in those cars isn't a Busso, is it? It's when GM took over. If I could have a 159 with a Busso engine, I would buy that as my next car, because this is just sensational. Incredible fun. Right, Pickle, before we summarise, should we say thank you to Kieran? Thank you so much for bringing it down today. Kieran is a dad, he's got a son, I think he's 2 years old. But the awesome thing as well is that it's Kieran's dad that got him into Alfas. His dad's always had Alfas. So when Kieran was growing up, his dad had an Alfa, and then, yeah, when it came time that he was gonna buy himself a special, exciting car, he ended up buying an Alfa as well. So look, to anybody watching who sort of wonders whether it's worth having an exciting car and making memories with your children or not, like, it absolutely is, isn't it? To share the passion. I hope so much, Pickle, that when you grow up, you're interested in cars as well, and you know, you buy a car which is like one of the ones that Daddy had, and you have like nice memories of. What car do you want to buy when you grow up? You want an Alfa Romeo, yeah? Does Daddy need to buy an Alfa Romeo then? Yeah? So in summary then, for the 147 GTA, oh, this is incredible to have such a small package, a tiny compact hatchback, two-door like this with that incredible legendary engine under the bonnet. It's just magical in today's world, it really is. And I'm pleased to confirm that this has exceeded my expectations of just how much fun, how engaging, and how much of a smile this was going to put on my face. I absolutely love these cars, and if you're thinking of buying one, you know, as a secondary car, as a weekend car, using it with your children to make memories, just go ahead and do it. Honestly, it's incredible. These cars are just so special. I'll never see anything like this ever again. Look, I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Come on, please, we're gonna do some more. I should be getting a 159 on the channel soon. And as a wise man once said, you can't be a true petrol head until you've owned an Alfa. So I will 100% be owning an Alfa on this channel, I don't know, within the next year would be my guess. And if you've yet to see the other Alfa Romeos we've done on this channel, check them out now, because they're both wonderful videos for completely different reasons. See you later, guys. Say bye-bye, sweetie. Bye. Bye.